This is the year with zero peak moments for Indian cricket.
It is definitely the worst year of Indian cricket that I can remember. Maybe the
But IPL was great, right?
TV umpire to director, we have a player review. Can we rock and roll, please?
Hello and welcome to episode 52 of Bits and Pieces, your friendliest cricket podcast. We're recording this on December 31st, 2022, and if you're one of those people wondering where did that year go, you don't have us for company because 2022 is our entire lifetime, our 52 episodes as your friendliest cricket podcast. I'm your host for this episode, Srinath, and with a stellar panel of co-hosts with me to round off the year. Going back to where it all began, the man whose WhatsApp message kicked off this pod, the visionary behind our weekly nonsense, the test match special who frequents your neighborhood T20 games, and also the Rohit Sharma of the pod this year, featuring an episode 1 and 52, but little else in between. But always the captain of the pod. Welcome back from rest and rehab, Mohan Krishnamurthy, aka Hank.
Hey, thank you so much. It's lovely to be back in episode 52, having flagged it off episode 1. But I must do a count back and see how many episodes I've been in. If it's not more than 10 or 15 or so, I'll be quite surprised. But good to be here.
Boundary count back. Hank, when you say you run marathons now, I'm fully doubting. You like flag off, then take care.
By the way, this actually happened. I was running marathon in Bangalore, I think, a half marathon. And then midway through, auto guy said, Bunny sir, khud ko le.
In Bangalore, you'll reach faster if you run, man.
Exactly.
Over to the Adam Barker from Centurion 97, the Gavin Rennie from Bolawaya 2000, the Eric Upashanta from Premadasa 2001, and the Collins Obuya from the 2003 World Cup. If you're breaking your head about any or all of those names, imagine remembering all of those with the scores and the dates and the Cricinfo links from their greatest performances. Say hello to the pod's official memory bank, the Gringotts vault of 90s and 2000 cricket. Obscure, mainstream, but always secure. Nitin Sundar.
Hey, hi Srinath. Thank you for that intro. As I've stated though on the spot, that memory bank stopped sometime in the mid-2000s or something. I remember nothing after that.
We wish we had cows who had then taken over from 2020.
Just when things started getting better, Nitin started forgetting them.
Early IPL reference. Got that in early, the Hank. On a scale of 1 to Nitin Sundar, this man breaks the scale when it comes to the gold standard of 2 movie references for one cricket topic. The variety and the flavor bomb of Bits and Pieces, or the flavor bombasandra as they call in Namo Bengaluru. The Karaban Congress that keeps on giving. Welcome back to the Mohan whom we never imagined would be the most frequent Mohan on the pod in 2022. Samir Mohan, welcome back.
Hey, thank you, Srinath. Happy to be here again.
Nice. And from there over to Kirtipur, where our next guest is joining us from, watching Lumbini All-Stars versus Pokhara Avengers in the Nepal T20. over to Mutare, where he's watching the Mashonaland Eagles, or to New Plymouth, where he's watching Northern Districts play Central Districts, or even in Delhi, where he's watching Delhi play Tamil Nadu at the Kotla. Wherever you go, cricket, our one-man cricket network follows. The cricket in Bits and Pieces cricket, the streak in podcasting streak. Welcome, Abhishek Chopra, also known as El Choppernose on Twitter.
Thank you so much. Fun match today in Nepal, and hopefully I'll get to watch the others also.
If you say so.
This is the new, as discussed in last month's Palembati Shield kind of thing. To round it off, to the pod's intro as a service, I offer my outro as a disservice. The fun and punditry, the voice and face and the Twitter account of the pod. The big B of the pod, because there's no ash in his big bash. The Sanju superfan in Bits and Pieces, except there's no Manju in this version. The heart that craves for the Samson, who doesn't yet know of his Delilah. Velilava There ain't no Hindi in this intro. Welcome back, Noti Tony. Tony Sebastian.
Amazing.
Very good. Now that the most prepared part of the pod is over, it's time to get into talk some actual cricket. Firstly, I think there's only one place to start from that joyful high of an intro, a rather somber note to start off with the news of Rishabh Pant yesterday. Our thoughts are with him. His speedy recovery, because this is a time where we don't think about the phenomenal talent that he is, but rather wish him well for a speedy, complete recovery from everything that's confronted him. I was just reading an account that's come out of a Haryana bus driver who's saved him from the bus and wrapped him with a blanket and everything. I don't know how we feel about it. It's a complete shocking end to the year, given all his on-field exploits and all the peaks that he scaled in 22. So that was one thing I just wanted to start off the pod with, and if you guys have any thoughts, we go ahead.
The media coverage been a total wreck, but it's actually been a very bad year for Indian road safety as such, because you also had the whole Cyrus Mystery car crash happening a couple of months back. Good thing is some of the state governments have now mandated belting up across all seats, irrespective of front, back or whatever. So please belt your strap yourself in whenever you just head out on a car. It's been a particularly bad year out there. I think going back to the NCRB stats, there's been a car crash and at least 3 lives taken every 45 minutes in the last year. And the only thing that I pray for Pant is to have like a total physical and emotional recovery, because this is not easy.
Yeah, I think my thoughts perhaps summarized by friend of the pod Bharat Sundaresan, who tweeted earlier that such a relief that Rishabh Pant is safe, but his horrific accident is just a reminder that away from the glitz, glamour and big paychecks, these high profile cricketers live lives as fickle as ours, and it's so vital to remember that when we talk and write about them. So yeah, I mean, from wherever he was in terms of the highs in this year and past couple of years to this, it's a great reminder of how fragile lives are, as Nitin, as Tony put it, and just hope he's back, man. I mean, playing or not playing is secondary. It's something that can come later. It's just something very sad to know and shocking, but hopefully he's back to fully fit soon.
Bharat's tweet is also a good reminder of how hectic their lives are, because we don't take into account, we just see them on the field when there's TV broadcast, but the guy was basically going from Dhaka to Delhi to Roorkee and then back to Delhi and then to Bangalore for his NCA stint ahead of the Australia series. That's like quite a crazy trip to have in a 3-4 day window. But this is what they do all the time. Like when we see the IPL, for example, we forget how crazy the whole thing is. There's all the money and the glitz, as Bharat refers to, but it's just insane the amount of travel and the number of modes of transport. He's just taken his BMW for a ride overnight, and it's happened at 5:30 in the morning. So this is a normal day, night in the life of a cricketer. And it's very easy to forget that when they're, making a mistake on the field, especially as batters who have only one mistake to make per innings, which is an incredible, tough job to have anywhere, forget on a cricket field or not.
Great, Dad. We can't take the pod anywhere from here. You nicely boxed us into one somber.
No.
Where we're like, let's remember this while we talk about cricketers. And now for some KL Rahul jokes.
I was
purely because of this.
Volty face pannungappa.
4G joke of the day, medal.
Also wishes to KL Rahul for his upcoming marriage. His man's getting married early next year. So finally, let's hope there is some anchoring that happens in his personal life so that he forgets the anchor on the field. So
Proper uncle, no? Let marriage happen every day.
I mean, the low-hanging fruit.
Well, I hope we get some good news soon.
Interestingly, this week, Gautam Gambhir, who is known to back his wards from the IPL, threw KL under the bus and said he should be backup wicketkeeper, if anything, in the ODI squad. 9 months before the World Cup, this has happened to KL.
That LSG dugout will have something replacing the G probably in a couple.
Okay, I think there was some actual cricket during the week, and I'm looking at Choppy. I had only one question from yesterday. It was like, what is happening with Pakistan? Because I know there's like 3-4 developments. Firstly, Shahid Afridi being appointed as chief selector, and the rest of it unfolding like an Afridi innings, right? So he just changed the team 3 times, tried to hit a 6 every ball every day of the test match, named some other guys on day 3 to join the squad, and then he was seen chatting with the public in Karachi, and then suddenly in between, Sarfraz Ahmed, who's been out of the squad for 3 years, returns as vice captain to the team, right? In place of Rizwan. Captain also, yeah.
Vice captain famously doesn't matter, as KL already.
Yeah.
I think the peak moment was, I didn't watch this, but I watched it on replay. Rizwan started reviewing as a substitute.
Yeah.
And the umpire said, substitute.
Thou shalt not
be
review.
Too much. That is epic. Truly epic.
Yeah, Babar declares yesterday. What's been going on, man? Like,
yeah, I mean, it's like, I don't know. I mean, first of all, to pay homage to our great podcaster from Pakistan, now in Canada. Sab gadhe hain, as Zainab Razvi puts it very succinctly. And it's just amazing. Like that entire setup can't stop, I don't know. It's ballistic. So basically the chairman has changed. Najam Sethi has come in, and then Ramiz Raja came out with a video making a great number of claims about how Najam Sethi was corrupt and this and that during his last tenure, during which the PSL was held outside Pakistan for a couple of years, and how there was so much spending by Najam Sethi, which was not all cool. And then the PCB official handle.
All cool.
Yeah, I mean, there's no other way to put it. And then the PCB official handle on Twitter came out with like a 4 or 5 bullet point clarification on how all those claims were baseless. And then there was this amazing video where, I don't know if, everyone watched WWE as a kid. There used to be this thing where where the manager of the wrestler would be the one taking the mic, and the wrestler would like stand stoutly just behind him. And that's what happened when Afridi and Abdul Razak, as the new selectors, addressed a group of press guys for the first time. I mean, Razak was unbelievably morose almost, and Afridi was making all sorts of claims. And then, random changes to the side happened. Sarfraz came back in. Rizwan went out, and then Rizwan tried to come back in, and then they said, no, you are not the captain. So, you can't be the captain as a substitute. And, credit to Rizwan, credit to Sarfraz, played a good innings, and really saved the blushes for his team when required. Babar played a good knock. Kane Williamson came off quite well after a loss of form for many years. I guess many days, years, I don't know. But very slow double 100, which effectively killed the match. And then that declaration was, completely out of the blue. And I think the press conference after that, when Babar was fielding questions from the journalists and trying to deadbat them, but ended up like playing all around a googly, it just shows the confused state of mind that he and the team are in. And I don't know what's going to happen after this. There are enough and more talks about Babar being deposed as captain and someone else coming in. I don't know who else they have now that Rizwan has also gone out of the side, at least for one match. So, all in all, complete shambles. So glad that Pakistan had Test cricket at home after so many years this year. But apparently they've also made the record, or I think they're second on the list of losing the most home tests this year. Or
not losing, but playing maximum number of tests at home without a victory.
Yeah, without a win. So
the record, coincidentally,
is India.
7. Record is held
1983.
by India 1983. That great year. Yes.
Yeah,
So-
yeah. And then 1984 they won that Bombay Test. Anyway, so yeah, I mean Pakistan is in a very odd place.
For the listeners, you just missed Nitin doing a spit take as Chops.
Gringotts being taken over by Asian Paints now.
Chopper knows 4 years before his birth was watching Test cricket in Bombay and keeping track of stats. It all makes sense now. No, best part is Cricinfo trying to explain that whole Sarfaraz Rizwan thing, right? Nobody knows exactly what the deal is, right? So I'm reading from Cricinfo here. As such, the loss of the game bars substitutes from leading a side. Rizwan was spotted moving his fielders around, but in theory, any fielder could do that. Word from the team management initially was that Rizwan, the side's designated vice captain, was the acting captain in Babar's presence. But for reviews, Sarfaraz Ahmed, the former captain who's in the 11 after a long gap, was in charge. That came into play in the 53rd over, whatever. Best part is Sarfaraz did a good job also. He got that review, got Devon Conway out. So
And I think the field placing, etc., which has been Babar's Achilles heel, so to speak, some of his fielding changes, field positioning and bowling changes have been completely terrible. Like a 10-year-old could make those decisions better than him. He's just letting the game pass by, and Sarfaraz obviously did a much better job with that.
Second KLR reference. Of
Yeah.
But tell me something: when the captain goes off the field, is the team supposed to inform the umpire who the acting captain is?
I think yes, they're supposed to designate someone who's going to be making those
But then,
decisions.
If they'd done that with Rizwan, umpires would have already said, "No, you can't be acting captain."
Yeah, maybe in this
Or
case,
like soft signal.
in this case, something would have happened, and they wouldn't have informed the umpires because perhaps he went off for a short while or whatever. But
let's just talk about that, because unlike in football where the skipper's armband goes to another player if the skipper is substituted, there is nothing like that in cricket. I mean, there's actually no visual information that people get that hey, the captain's going
except
off,
Kohli
this person's
cam.
the
just the imagined crown of thorns, nothing else.
Exactly. So the vice captain then automatically takes on that role, but except in home games, you hardly ever do that.
No, KL Rahul has said vice captain has nothing to do with
No,
it.
you don't need to designate a vice captain. There's no official position. Like in the team sheet that goes to the other captain before the match.
India stopped naming vice captains for home series like long back, right? They just had a captain. Also, by the way, very often when Kohli was captain, Dhoni used to set the field. Kohli used to not even be in the frame anywhere. He'd be fielding it long gone, right?
Yeah,
and nobody had a
especially in
problem
the
with that.
death overs.
Zahir Khan used to set fields for fast bowlers all the time, right? Like towards the fag end of his career. I'm sure the umpires did not object to any of that. So it's also random. You don't know when umpires will suddenly say, hey, you cannot do this. It's like Bangalore traffic cops only. Suddenly one day they'll wake up and do you know this rule? You violated. 5,000 rupees no give.
The other reference that I remembered was Sangakkara sending Jayawardene to the toss so that he could avoid an overrate penalty which was coming his way.
That was pretty cool.
Yeah, I
that
think
World Cup also.
Faf du Plessis also did something like this, no? I mean, he was not winning the toss at all, so sent someone else in the hope that the luck would change.
If Sangakkara goes out to the toss, he normally doesn't hear what the call is.
Well
In
done,
fact,
yeah.
Sri Lanka once sent some total rando, right? Not even Mahila. I think Sangha and Mahila both had some issues and they sent somebody like...
Some Kapukedra types.
Exactly. They sent Kapu Kedra or Chamara Silva for one of the tosses, if I remember right.
Samara Veera. Throwing just another random name.
Just enough limited overs cricket to captain it.
Yeah, but just to sum up Pakistan and Gade, etc., I think Pakistan's has always been the quixotic team. Quixotic, which famously comes from the novel Don Quixote, which can also be written as Don Quixote.
Oh.
So we are that pod.
Superb.
Just to let listeners know that we are that pod where Chops tries to make sense, but will immediately be cut down by a bad joke.
हार के जीतने वाले को डोंकी कहते हैं.
नहीं, हार के जीतने वाले को रॉब की कहते हैं.
Was Babar's declaration basically a desperate attempt to somehow win a test match and not, end up not winning a single test in the year?
There was an amazing...
Absolutely no other...
I was. Sir, keep it to English.
Why did he declare? Like, somebody explain that declaration to me. Like,
It's a proper troll move, no? I loved it. Like,
hey, see, you're
first innings,
first of all
sir.
getting gaji. You're 10 and 11 are getting happy gaji, right? So just continue another half an hour, play everyone, go home, sip tea, and you go home. Suddenly, like, no, we'll declare now. Everyone warm up, get ready. We are going to bowl 7 overs.
Babar was like, give them 6 overs of hell.
Give ourselves 6 overs of hell. Give our fans 6 overs of hell. Fans are shitting bricks.
Maybe
Srinath
it was
quiet on that group. Like, people couldn't process what that declaration was. Like, how do you react to something like this?
I mean, first innings they put third new ball and all, couldn't get out. Now 14 overs you'll get out to 10 people. Like, what is this?
My sense was this, right? I think we talked about this, that Babarism's leadership is under question and under the microscope and all that, and he's trying to be cute, saying, "Yeah, I can do this as well," type of thing, right? So he's putting his number out there, saying, "Yeah, I can think like this as well." And I don't know, it was just such a limp declaration.
But for me, the moment of the match was when I think at the fall of the 9th New Zealand wicket in the first innings, there was an LBW appeal and Pakistan had no reviews left, and Babar is a Lahori, so in chaste Punjabi he was heard saying to Alimdar that the next innings reviews should also be credited to Pakistan right now. And I mean,
hey, that's the Chase Punjabi that I also understand. What a year it has been for Indian cricket. I think when just before we started the pod, we were celebrating the highs of Centurion, and everything looked sorted, at least on the test front. And we ended the year in complete shambles. It reminds me of basically, what our parents used to tell us: if you do well in 12th and get into entrance, then life is sorted. Feels like the Indian cricket team went through that full entrance and then found themselves in year 1 of engineering, guys, and like everything has gone awry. And I would like to go around the table and ask for nominations of which character transformation in college the Indian cricket team reminds you of. I think for me, yeah.
Before that, I was just going to say, in spite of the fact that we did poorly in the entrance exam, the rest of the class was so poor that we still have a chance of leading the WTC. So the rest of the people that took this entrance exam was so shit that even though we are in shambles, we're actually India's.
But just going back to my tortured analogy, right? Basically, I think Kohli this year has been like that kid who was the school topper and then reached engineering college and realized he can start a rock band and like completely forgotten to study this year, and the grades have gone bad.
I had a friend who was proper topper level, but like pretty good. Like he started off doing really, really well. And then he flunked one of his 7th semester electives, right? That's what happened to India in the WTC. Like getting closer to the end. One other guy also flunked ethics paper. He cleared some financial markets and all. He did well. Like ethics failed, right?
Saurav Ganguly of the
like 7th semester, 8th semester, full coasting and proper failure. Obviously, this is without accounting for nuances like no Shastri and all this, but this makes sense with the jammy sir.
When was the ethics book released actually?
So my equivalence or the analogy or that I'd like to cite is, I had a friend of mine, and I hate to admit this on a podcast, but a friend of mine who used to wear dhoti to exams and all that. And the inside part of the dhoti would write some formulae and all that.
Bits and pieces. Yes.
But in the inside of the dhoti. But this guy, on one of the exams, I think it may have been, I don't know what it was. He wrote the questions, cheat sheets for the wrong exam, and he landed up. And he was completely confused about what to do. Oops. So this is the equivalent. So here is the team that India went to for the T20 championship. Completely wrong team for the wrong format.
That friend is now in Dortmund.
The Tunde Munde Vedikunde Award.
No, actually, Tony asked about whose transformation was most stark or whatever. I think the problem with the Indian team is nobody transformed, right? The board refused to admit that times are changing. They just continue to throw the same solutions that worked in 2018 and everything. And Nothing changed. It's very standard with Indian cricket also. Every time the era ends, right? They're loath to making changes, so stars stay in the team for a very long time, which means the feeder lines never get built properly. There's no most stars come in and go out together, right? It's batches literally, which is what happened in 2011. Happened again, 2000, whenever it happened last. But yeah, it's happening again. Yeah. You have very few transition era cricketers. Like Dhoni, for instance, is probably a transition era cricketer, right? You can't club him with the Dravid Gangulis or with the... he played with them as well as with Kohli for significant periods of time. But if you look at the current batch, right? Kohli, Rohit, Bumrah, even I would say Jadeja are all contemporaries. And they've all sort of started waning at the same time. And there's no plan. It's a catch-22. So 2022 was a catch-22.
Did we have... Is this the year with zero peak moments for Indian cricket? I can't.
There was one.
This is no. This is just Tony trying to get us to talk about Kohli.
No, dude, come on. One group stage match you win and you can't put scene forever. No, like seriously, like zero things that.
What Zimbabwe, ODI, Thomas Cook Travel Series and all we won. No?
All of that.
Yeah, no, it is definitely the worst year of Indian cricket that I can remember. Maybe the
but IPL was great, right?
Best deadpan delivery. That is like an arm ball. Zoned in and hit the front pad.
But basically, the bits and pieces jinxes happened for the entirety of Indian cricket.
Sorry,
full year.
I'm getting very confused here. When did we end our last Australia tour? Wasn't it sometime this year? And
No. This is a COVID problem. Everybody thinks that 2018 straight 2023. No,
2021 Boxing Day Test match was Centurion, which we won.
This year started with,
This year started with South Africa.
South Africa, we just won. We were 1-0 ahead. Like all things looking up.
All the good stuff done. And even said we'll start a podcast. Glorious time for an Indian cricket.
First board, Nitin Sundar says, this next match will be over in 3 days. India is walking away with a win in this.
Famous last words.
We got Dean Elgard. Just imagine. Oh God.
Yeah.
That's been the year.
I think highlight was beating Sri Lanka totally at home. No.
Hey, New Zealand also, da.
New Zealand, they pulled off a draw, no, at Kanpur.
Oh shit, yeah, fuck.
Wait, but that was last year.
No, this year.
Patel was last year.
Ajaz Patel was last year. 2021.
Probably, it was last year.
December last year, yeah.
December, yeah.
There is nothing to celebrate this year.
Sri Lanka,
Deepti Sharma's run out, there is nothing to celebrate this year. To celebrate the women's team, they had a fantastic year.
Have you watched Ashwin's YouTube channel recently or not?
Now we are celebrating winning test matches in Bangladesh, like Litandas and swimming pools. And
December 20.
Why you are antagonizing PGK and Kohli Sadgopal every episode, guys? Cage match come 2023.
I'm not talking about his bowling. I'm talking about his content creation, and it is unbearable. Yeah.
See that cage match which was between Shripata and PGK, it's soon gonna be like Royal Rumble, WrestleMania. Everyone jumping in. Yeah. RCB came out with a video saying we have this hinterland scouting, and they apparently picked up someone who bowls 145. And they had a full video justifying why we picked a random pacer from Jammu and Kashmir.
Some auto driver son story again, no?
Not sure, Avinash Singh karke, and he started bowling leather ball like 10 months ago. And they went and offered him like a contract to him. Very interesting. I mean, I don't know if it's going to be one of those interesting stupidity. It's that thin line in the sand thing. But that also happened. I mean, and the auctions happened in Kochi. So Tony is happy. Yeah.
But just looking at the final IPL list and all that, I think it could be Rajasthan Royals.
Mohan has woken up from cryogenic sleep from 2008. I think he'll be Rajasthan Royals.
Yeah, I try to keep a straight face through this.
Right,
You just
right.
have to say IPL. I think that's there could be an entire podcast to be saying IPL.
God, I'm just so laughing so badly.
We can see.
and here it.
Yep. Okay.
Go on. Sorry.
Go on.
No,
sorry.
I was actually going to seriously ask a question. What do you think? What do you look forward to in the next year for Indian cricket? What do you think?
Okay. Serious
What
question.
right? I mean, this has been a terrible year for Indian cricket, and in also not just white ball cricket, T20 Test cricket as well. But in spite of that,
It is
India's number two.
2022, so we are bad in Test, ODIs, and 2022.
Oh, man.
So I think every team is going through this transformation, whatever the stuff that you talked about. England has achieved that through their baseball or whatever it is, but I think every team is kind of struggling with that kind of identity through the transformation. Yeah, okay, Australia did really well in Australia, but come on, no team's actually good. So yeah, I think
This is true.
India does try to change.
The only problem for India is, like I was saying earlier, right? All the transformation happens at one shot because you don't do it gradually over a period of time. You look at Australia, there is some change that is happening. Langer goes, before that Lehman was there, he went. There is some change, there's some tinkering happening on an ongoing basis. Indian team doesn't do tinkering on an ongoing basis. And now they have to revamp the whole thing. So it's going to be a very tough period.
And like how Nitin went for well-planned transitions, and then it's like, Lehman moving out was
Beautiful. That's it.
Those were all, they would all, so in India, the problem is you will let it all build up and fester for a long time, right? If there is a problem between a coach and a captain, for instance, you won't address it immediately, right? And suddenly then you'll find your players, your stars have built giant egos, you can't drop them. So you'll make all the changes at once. Now they'll be forced to do it, which is what they did. When they said, okay, Dravid, Lakshman, Tendulkar, all together, they had to try and ship out, right? Ganguly after a very bad 2011 tour. Of course, Ganguly was already gone. But it's the same thing happening again, right? And that period was really tough for Indian cricket. This period is also going to be really tough.
Yeah, and let's face it, 2023, you're a team without your top wicket keeper. So it's just going to be, it is Sanju time. I don't see him playing any part in the next year. So and it's good for his own good.
Sanju or
Rishabh Pant.
Oh, okay. I thought you were
Talking about
I thought
Rishabh
you were
Pant.
talking about KL Rahul, India's number one keeper.
Okay, guys, player of the year has to be KL Rahul, right?
No.
Pod player.
Pod player of the
Pod
year.
player of the
KL.
year. Podcast favorite.
Like, what a guy. He didn't have this reputation going into the year.
No.
Right? It is.
And then the first,
He's become a
literally
meme
the first
now.
test India played, he captained in South Africa.
And the last test also.
And everything.
Yeah.
And the last test also.
The Hank of Indian cricket.
Yeah.
Those new schools where every kid gets an award.
It's like Oprah saying you get an award. But I think so there's two. This is actually one award that gets given to two people with two different names. It's probably the typo of 2022, and it has to be YPU. Has to be the typo of the year.
YPU.
YPU.
YPU, the typo of the year. Yeah.
Tayo of the year. Tayo.
Yeah, it's the Tayo of the year. And
Rev Sports.
And Filmfare actually does the segment where it gives out this Nothing to Hide award. I remember a couple of actresses winning it, and I think Vridhiman Saha is ripe for a Nothing to Hide award winner of 2022. I mean, he just butchered. He just brought out the demon from outside of the closet, and especially with the typo, and especially with the kind of language, right? Like, I mean, I have that tweet pulled up here. they choose one wicket keeper, whoever is the best. You try to choose 11 journalists, which is not the best according to me. Choose whoever can help the most. I mean, it just has to be the nadir for media around cricket in India, probably. I mean, it couldn't go further lower than this. Unfortunately, it did around the women's game and all of that. But this is just. I mean, this has to be the lowest point in cricket journalism and reporting in this year.
Okay, so it is the Nadir Shah Award of
From Sher Shah to Nadir Shah.
yeah. But
Also,
Via
Samir,
Sher Shah Suri
sorry,
Mark.
the Nothing to Hide award must just be called the Poonam Pandays or something like that, right?
wow. Okay. But Samir making old media reference reminded me of the award on the pod for the best callback, which I'll give to Nitin for Dhoni talking about fans and
Yeah. Super. Every
Nitin,
single
please
time.
repeat.
Call back the callback.
Yeah, as if it is not enough that we repeat things that have already happened in cricket. We repeat what we repeated about things that already happened in cricket. We call it the Mexican wave.
Mexican
But- yeah, so Dhoni in the 2011 World Cup was giving a masterclass on how to do shit press conferences. He used to keep talking about cars and handbrakes and engines. And reasons why Piyush Chawla was continuing to play ahead of R. Ashwin. During the World Cup, one of the things that happened was Bangladesh fans who got very angry with their team for losing to West Indies decided to stone the Bangladesh bus, except that they stoned the wrong bus and they stoned the West Indies team's bus. Meanwhile, somebody questioned MS Dhoni about this incident and asked him what he thought about fans behaving in this way. And Dhoni replied, well, fans should not do it like this. In 2007 also, when we lost the World Cup, some people came and threw stones at our house. But fans should remember that they should not do such things, because when we win, it is not like we players take hockey sticks and go and beat up fans. So, so when we lose, they should not come and attack us. Everyone went silent.
Best part is the insertion of hockey sticks into that discourse, which had not happened, which means he's thought about this. Like, what is equivalent action?
A stone. See, how many stones can he collect? There are millions of fans. He can't he has to carry millions of stones if he wants to attack with stones. Right? But hockey stick, you can go with one stick and attack everyone. Correct. So it makes logical sense. Yeah.
And I mean, it's also a very how do you say? I mean, it's also very ironic that this country has collectively won 15 to 16 Olympic medals in the sport of hockey, and the only thing you remember a hockey stick is when you have to beat someone up for good.
They won 7 medals, I think, right?
8 golds, I think 3 bronzes.
Hey, Olympian Srinath, please
Olympics.
Hey, are you going to college or only going to Olympics?
Full.
International Olympics. Yeah, Srinath, fact check.
Absolutely correct. I think it's over 12 or whatever for sure. So
over 12.
Absolutely perfect answer. It is over 12.
Over 12.
I take the quiz options. It's fine. It's correct.
Moving the clock back to the start of 22. Let's go through the year that was, because we've done 52 episodes, which I guess is more than most cricketing podcasts have been, if we can call ourselves one. I think the couple of things I wanted to throw over to you guys.
Jared Kimber did 7,000 episodes, but yeah, we are a distant number 2.
No, that was in 7,000 different podcasts. So.
It's also about the 1850s. This is only Choppy can take part in that kind of thing among this group. Anyway, just a couple of questions that I had more in terms of going back, because I actually wanted to play a game to see if you guys remembered anything you said over the year, because there's
already
just some titles of past episodes and see what moment it is referring to. I don't know if any of you can remember, but I think we are well covered among this panel. I'm sure at least one of us has been on all the 52 episodes that we've done this year.
I'm now looking for the first episode that Choppy was part of, which I think goes back a while.
Of the streak.
It's been a while.
Yeah.
20 odd episodes.
think that there was a time when Chops wasn't on the pod.
Yeah, exactly. That's so long ago. I think it was 29, right? Or just about halfway.
29? Are you serious?
No, 29 was the first episode. Okay. Wow.
20, yeah. The first episode Chops was part of is The Umpire Strikes Back.
How did we exist for half a year?
Chops is like Chops is like
on the cricket side of it.
Chops is like Kamal Hassan and Vikram, man. Comes in the second half and Only that.
Sorry, what is the title, da?
The Umpire Strikes Back. It's about a bunch of things, including Gorilla Gotilla, which obviously.
Yeah, Gorillas in the Mist. Wow.
Definitely our best episode.
Such a superb episode to be part of first off.
We spoke about that thing for like 45 minutes, man. Like, we had like multiple
Was there a Sri Lanka versus Australia test going on at that time?
If you say so.
But to put a meta question on Gorilla Gotilla, what match was Gorillas in the Mist about?
Yeah. Vitality Blast final. Simon Dool.
Everyone knows.
Amazing. Pretty good.
This is like...
It was only hazy for you.
Welcome everyone. So apparently Lalit Modi's newfound romance at his old age has been described by many in the cricketing circles as the Vitality Blast. But we'll start with the real Vitality Blast, the finals of which was yesterday. And Srinath, why don't you take it away and tell us what happened?
But I had a question now. Now suppose now the second run is happening. Okay, assume second run happening, but all three stumps have been taken out. How does a run out happen?
It can't.
You're allowed to. No, you can. No, you're allowed to stick the stump back in.
Okay.
Yeah, you ground the stump back in.
Oh, what is this electrical engineering stuff, dude? Like grounding, like what is this?
Dude, when we are playing cricket, we can have current run out and all, but you can't do this, is it? What the hell?
It's called power play.
But what I'm trying to ask is, see, suppose like that's what. So the usual rule is when bails have been disturbed and you want the run out, you still want to affect the run out, to take a stump out, right? If no stumps exist there, okay, and the guy is running, what do? You put the stump back in, but doesn't that mean he's safe?
No, this is when Kirchhoff's law comes in.
You uproot it again. Kirchhoff's law. It's like ukhad le and then phir ukhad le. It's like a sequel.
It's a Fleming's middle finger rule. Right hand screw, whatever you
How CSK screwed with the system and won every time. That is Fleming's middle finger rule, is it?
I'm telling you guys, if the batsman running towards the non-striker's end was Ashwin, he would have convinced everyone, and by now that team would have won the game. Like absolutely no doubt.
Macha, just 1 second. When, as far as Ashwin running of the last ball is concerned, we saw Ashwin did in the Wankhede test.
He didn't come back for the single, as Sirin memorably observed.
World famous. No, honestly, if Ash Anna had been the one doing it, he'll be running back. He'll only uproot the stump with the ball in his hand.
No.
We won't know what happened.
As he's running, he will explain to the fielder what you now need to do to get a run out. Idiot, you don't even know these rules. He'll be explaining.
So before running as a non-striker, can you just knock the stumps over and run?
No, that will not be given.
So that they have to. Why?
Then you will be given out
against the spirit of the game.
Hit wicket at the non-striker's end. This is not.
In fact, given that the stumps were moving all over the pitch, can you take the stumps from the striker's end and plant it in the non-striker's end?
Or like Shamsi, produce a stump from your wicket and play that.
Good one.
Stump transplant.
Wait, Stumpy was also a mascot for some tournament, right? Stumpy?
Not this one though. It didn't run it onto the pitch.
There was a nice reference about the mascot from Simon Dool, who said he called it really well, by the way. Like he said, we had a gorilla win the mascot race, and now we've got the mist when the fireworks went up. So that was really nice.
I didn't get it.
Good.
Did the others get it?
No, I also didn't get that. Explain the reference.
I think I think we killed the.
Sorry, Ra.
No, we'll fix it and edit. It's okay.
This part of the thing. I think it's basically a reference about a movie, right? Like I don't know if it was King Kong or.
You also didn't get the reference.
No, it's
Like everyone's retweeted this. This must be good.
no, it's because I assumed it was a King Kong reference, but apparently it's a
T. Rajendra
Godzilla
film.
based
Oh,
reference.
got
T. Rajendra also possible. T. Rajendra also possible.
Oh God. Got it.
Gorilla in the Mist.
Okay, like that.
Super.
Okay, moving on to looking on the go. Lion in the Sand, Fine in the Rand, episode 39. With two
Nice.
Mohans on the episode. What are we referring to here? I'm going to throw it to Samir, the other Mohan on the episode.
Yeah, our friends from the Caribbean Cricket Podcast getting banned for Rand. I made it sound very rhyming, but I mean, very unfortunate. I wouldn't even call it a slip of the tongue. I mean, it again comes down to the whole part about languages, switching languages and all of that. And I mean, innocent name for a South African currency, and if you just get triggered by it, it just shows your lack of sensibilities. But yeah, what was the match again? I don't remember. Were we discussing a game?
I think they were discussing IPL money, right?
No, also we were discussing the whole Deepti Sharma doing the Mankad in the final, right? Like the India-England game.
That was later.
And
that wasn't that. Deepti Sharma was old Mankad who sold this Ferrari. I remember that.
But we continued
We
the next
continued
game.
the next game as well.
Got it.
We continued the next game as well.
Nitin's like name of the episode.
I remember that one, yeah.
Chapter was.
He is the centum boy in the class.
No, Dad. 2:30 a.m. when you finish the edit and you're racking the remaining brain cells to come up with the title for the episode. Only Tony and me know this pain.
Yeah, correct. Totally.
You will never forget what you come up with. Yeah.
No, I was going to ask Tony which his favorite intro was, or better still, we should read one of his intros and ask him which episode this was from. Never going to be able to get it.
Very tough. I don't generally know episodes number when I'm on it. Like 50th episode.
My favorite Tony intro for myself is the one where he referenced Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul.
Yeah. I think everything peaked that this was Umpire Strikes Back only, I think.
It was?
Yes. Tony, the part I'm going to read from the description is we joined to find out our collective disgust of baseball, the therapeutic white noise space that helps you get through life like a KL Rahul innings. I'm sure you wrote this, but what is the more important part of this this particular episode?
Wow. Okay. I actually don't know that. This is very... spoke about baseball quite a bit, no? This is probably the early part of baseball when we thought like...
It's pretty insane that the term didn't exist at the start of the year. And there are 52 episodes old.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Pretty much.
But what I really wanted to do is throw it to you and let you talk about the India-Pakistan pod. I think that's been one of my highlights of the year because I used to be after Karachi Katmal and Osman to do Paces Yar episodes for Cricket4. And in a way, this is great that we've gotten Zainab and then Sami to come on the pod. I really wish we do more of this in 23 and beyond. And I thought that was one of our highlights of the year to bring 50-50 India-Pakistan representation on the pod. So I want you to talk about it.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's all Chops' credit, right? And we want to join that episode.
Wow. Sarfaraz aap yahan.
I was basically the substitute captain doing the review at that point. But
I shout out to Sami also. I mean, the whole bonhomie of that whole podcast was off the charts. I mean, it was, as the title said, India-Pakistan Cricket Podcast.
No, I called it out for precisely that reason. I wasn't on that episode, but it was such a feel-good episode in every possible way that, I mean, you guys just didn't, there was no, there's a better word for it, but I think there's no fakeness on the pod. I think you guys in the end, you called it out saying like you're being too nice and everything, and then Sami went full rant mode along with Zainab, and it was just like insane finish to the whole thing.
I'll give you a secret of how to make that happen.
PGK.
Completely unprepared to the pod, and I was guilty of making everyone 30 minutes late because I got stuck outside. But practically there was nothing, and they were waiting for 30 minutes, and we had to start. And I'm like, okay, listen, there's no format. We're just gonna do this, and most things on the spot, it just ended up happening.
But it was actually such an amazing feel good.
Sami and Zainab episode and PGK and Tony, I think that one has to be my top 3 from our podcast during the year. I so regretted not being on it. But yeah, I think PGK, the Hindi word for it, and sorry Vijay Arumugam again, but the Hindi word for it is chabi bharo. It's what I mean, chabi bharna. So essentially, I mean, the English translation would be winding someone up.
Giving key.
Drop key.
Yeah, I mean, Sami and Zainab spoke so politely, so nicely. Tehzeeb. And then PGK is like, Ijaz Ahmad. They lost their shit. And credit to PGK. I think Ijaz Ahmad, at least 2 episodes that I've heard, I don't know if before that also he's done it, but Ijaz Ahmad's story of PGK and how he felt after that match, he can do it 100 times and it'll still be super enjoyable.
It's a stand-up act in itself. Yeah.
No, it was a great episode, right? Because India-Pakistan, you'd expect lots of rivalry, but the biggest rivalry on that pod was between PGK and me at the end of the year. Strongly awaiting cage match for Ashwin references.
I actually find it quite interesting that both Zainab and Sami they have a lot of equanimity. Okay, it's just very, very, you're just looking at it like how you would analyze like a butterfly on like a paper. Like, oh, this is the wings, this is the antlers. This is what I don't understand how you can't. You're just looking at it so, in such a cool way. Because from my perspective, and I think from a lot of people in India's perspective, there is, of course, even when you do well, there is a lot of collective trauma with this as a nation. Like you ask people now about, of course, it starts with the Myanmar 6. You ask people now about 1998. In Cricinfo, even now, there are 5,000 word articles written about the 1998 test, that we lost when Tendulkar got this thing, the back spasm, Shaklin. Oh my God. Okay. We write, we take it out. We do group therapy with it. And this continues. I can tell you, like for the 90s, there was this one match, right? You probably don't even know this match. Okay, but I can tell you that it formed my entire definition of my entire childhood. There was a game where India played Pakistan at Lahore, right? And I think it was like a ODI bilateral series, probably meaningless. But I think it was in the second or third ODI. It was the last ODI. And India bat and they make like some 216 runs or something. And Pakistan come out to bat. And they chase it down, I'm not joking, in 25 overs. And it was all because of this one person, Ijaz Ahmad. I have nightmares today about that innings. It's just like, I remember reading a match report later. I don't know if it was on Cricinfo or somewhere else. It's about how it's an entire illustration. The description is how Ijaz Ahmad used his bat like an axe that day. And he used it like an axe that day. It was just flying all over the place. I still remember that innings. It's on my YouTube. It's there. Sometimes I watch it when I have a lot of pain. I watch it to relive the pain. So I would imagine that
to feel something.
People
you watch it to feel something.
But why don't you tell, what the 2003 World Cup, man, when Sehwag and Sachin went on and said, man, we struggled. Multan, oh my God, Sehwag, Multan. I have nightmares of Multan. But nothing. You have nothing. You're just like, it was fine. It was okay. It was all right.
When I was like, I came late to this podcast, but this is definitely something I've got on that like we felt mutual trauma for each other. But they're like, no, India is India, but pace is pace.
Pace is pace. It doesn't matter. Jamal and Srinath is a little underrated, don't you think? Jamal and Srinath.
Imagine this: our best memory of India versus Pakistan involves a fast bowler who called himself a fast bowler because he had no self-respect, called Venkatesh Prasad, right? And dismissing Amir Sohail. So yeah, I think we've been living different.
Exactly.
destinies.
Imagine if that had happened to us, right? Imagine if they had won that game, which they were probably going to win, if not for that this thing. We would have not forgotten it. We would have been thinking about it even today. Today at Chinnaswamy Stadium, when you walk in, there'd be trauma. Oh my God, this is the place.
You realize what's happening here, right? Like Zainab and I are trying to repress our trauma, and you guys are like, bring that motherfucker out. Oh, it's not coming out? Let me give you some examples, you fuckers. What about when we smashed you? You remember that really horrible day you had over a decade ago that you've been suppressing ever since? That all your relationships have been fucked since then? Let me bring it up and see what happens. Let me just throw the hand grenade in there. Thank you very much. Zainab, why don't you now?
But before Zainab goes on, I just want to say that for the record, PGK actually grew up in Sharjah, close to Sharjah, and he's the only Indian who hates Fridays, right? Because of what Pakistan would
But also, yeah, that's true, because they would tell that to us. They'd be like, oh, they're playing on a Friday. It's literally like that thing, like they say in Hindu mythology that Rakshasas get much powerful at night, so don't go out at night. So it's like Pakistan on Friday. They have special powers on Friday. Really? Okay. But you know what the crazy part is? Now, if you go back and look back at it, I remember somebody did this analysis and they found out that most of the games were not actually played on a Friday. It is an urban legend that it just feels like the games were played on Friday. Most of the games were not. It was supposed to be like on a Thursday.
But we still got smashed, though.
Of course, it didn't matter. But yeah, all these excuses people would make.
No, Sami's right. We're very good at managing and repressing our trauma, and we always have something to like rationalize it. So for when I think about the Multan triple century from Sehwag, what I always recall is अरे उस बेचारे के तो इतने हमने catches छोड़े थे. He wouldn't have got those many runs if he hadn't dropped the catches. So I think about it, and when the Pindi Test match was happening, and Brooks was hitting us and Crowley was hitting us, I recalled the Multan Test match. That this pitch looks kind of like reminds me of that Multan pitch, but we haven't even dropped any catches today. So I can't even tell myself that, oh man, luck is not on our side. But anyway, I think Sami made a valid point. We try to focus on the good sides, the things that we can gloss over and just brush under the carpet all the trauma.
Yeah.
No, there was an India-Pakistan game that caused a friendship between my best friend is French, right? And he's now, I forced him to learn something about cricket. And the Pakistan-India game caused a lot of tension in our friendship, like a lot of tension, because this
Which Pakistan-India game?
It was the Misbah Scoop match.
Oh, right.
So he watched the World Cup and he was like, he has like this smug look on his face. He comes in and he's watching me during that World Cup, not that game, watching me stream the match on my computer, and he comes in, he goes, oh, it's chaseable, huh? It's chaseable. Like he was really smug, like he knew how, like he just looks at the score and figures it out because his dumbass brain has figured out that how cricket just about works. So then we go to the final, and it's in our university pub, and they've got it on a big screen. And it's mostly India fans, small smattering of Pakistani fans who I didn't know. And it's me and these three Goras, including this Frenchie. And this Frenchie, his thing was like, oh, if you support the other team, this is how we do, man. It's what friends do. It's so funny. Blah, blah, blah. Okay. I was like, okay, shut the fuck up. I was like, don't talk to me right now. Just shut the fuck up here. And then we're about to win. And I'm just so buzzing. And then this... And when sometimes you're at the time they seem annoying, and then maybe in hindsight, it's just that you were tense and you thought people were annoying. But it was just the only Pakistani person that I could hear in my vicinity was this girl sitting with Indian fans, her friends, which no judgment here. That's totally fine. I was just unlucky. I didn't have a lot of cricket friends around me. And they kept going oh, my name is Isba. Oh, it's like Isba, Misbah. And they just thought it was so fucking funny. And they just said it all the time. So I'm trying to concentrate on the game. The game is fucking tense. Misbah's batting. And they're just going, oh, Isba, Misbah, Isba, Misbah. How is that funny? Shut the fuck up. So that's annoying me as it is, right? It's a fucking tense game. This French dickhead is pissing me off on the side. There's Isba, Misbah on the other side. And then he plays the scoop, which I don't blame him for. And Pierre decides the smartest thing to do is to go right in front of my face and just start jumping up and down like a lunatic, right? Celebrating.
Yeah.
in a room full of mostly Indian fans, which I'm already pissed off about. Right? So I was like, all right, theek hai. Did not speak to him for like 2 days. Now we've come to a realization that to be fair to him, when France, over the summer before, I think it was, when France played Italy in the World Cup final and Zidane headbutted Materazzi, I literally called, not his phone because he knew it would be me. I called his mom's phone to then give it to Pierre. So he didn't know. And then Pierre's like, what? I was like, oh, it's really urgent. Can I speak to Pierre, please? And then she gives it to Pierre. And I just laughed. While he's like dealing with the trauma. So to be fair, I did deserve that shit, but now we're in a much better place. Either way, so not only, yes, you're right, the trauma was definitely there. It also almost broke a friendship.
Thank you for sharing, Sami. I'm sure it must have been very brave, being very brave and talking about these things.
It's fair to say we all had peer pressure growing up. Chops has like added so much to the pod, dude. Like, many of our favorite guests, including Bharat and Sainab, who's hopefully a regular, and Sami and all of them. So, Chops, over to you, da. Like, recruiting friends for the podcast.
But I'm telling you, he's Kamal Haasan from Vikram only. He came and made it multi-starrer. He came in second half.
Just before we go to Chops, we'll here's a segue to probably the best an award for the year. So let's just do this, right, and say who's been the best guest on the show.
Bharat,
let's just wait.
Firstly, what is the difference between a guest and
a host?
Exactly. So that's sort of. So we are all members of that WhatsApp group. So let's say we are not guests, right? We are whatever. We are conductees or people on the show or something like that. But I would say that Bharat, exactly, humans on the show.
Humans
Bharat, Beastie Boy was probably a guest because he's not regular and all that. Sami is probably a guest, whereas Zainab is part of the group, so she's not a guest. I would say that although Sidin is in the group, he's probably a guest. So who's been the best guest? And
he's been on as many episodes as you would. So
what? I'm going to do a count back. I'm going to do a count back and tell you how many episodes I've been on.
Almost. Rahul also was like that only.
Count back.
In between two ODIs, he'll come.
Mohan, what's your guess? How many have you been on?
I think 10 or 12.
No, definitely in the single digits.
7.
We'll do this.
I think it'll be 10 to 12. 1 in 5 seems about right.
1 and 5.
Sure. Boss, in the middle
just
of
like
3 months, you have IPL means what I can do.
IPL right off.
IPL was 4 episodes. Okay, maybe 7.
Chops joined after IPL. It's like already.
It was one totally epic moment where Hank was offering an alternative to broadcast rights model and how BCCI should afford it.
Show me the monopsony.
Oh yeah, show me the monopsony.
Okay, I've got the answer for you. I've been on 16 episodes.
Wow!
Oh, 616.
You're in the teams.
That is counting today. 16.
Well played.
I fly under the radar.
Severe apologies.
Like you're then not the KL Rahul, you're the VVS Lakshman of this podcast.
I expected 6. That's what I expected.
No, I keep all the files, so I know the episodes that I've been on because I have to ship it back into you guys, right? So
but each file you converted into WAV and MP3, so 8 episodes.
All format player.
All format.
Oh God. But that's another thing, right? The segue is wait. We should do a count of who's appeared how many times on the on the
easy
on the
enough
board.
to do.
Easy enough to do. Let's do that. But anyway, who's the best guest? Over to you guys.
My vote for Abhishek Madan.
Oh wow!
Deep cut. Every week I ping Abhishek Madan saying it's time you come back. It's time you come back. Bacha, what cricket I'm not following at all. WhatsApp I'm not there at all.
I'm like,
this is exactly what I wanted.
Nitin, what episode is this? I don't think I've heard this one.
It's probably 5
to start of IPL, man.
5 or 6.
Double scales. World famous double scales is
5 for 6, huh? Okay.
He came on
no, not 5 for 6. 5 or 6. He came only on 1.
5 for 6 is Umar Gul. He came 2 episodes.
Single digit podcast number, single digit appearance also.
Two. No, I think he did 2 episodes. The first one where he came was where we were discussing James Faulkner throwing the bat into the chandelier. How did this even happen, by the way? I wonder. So he has a bank account in Australia, which is where he collects his money generally. But somehow he's also given them an English bank account. I think he probably gave them his equivalent of a PAN card or something that he created 20 years back. And that is linked to some English bank account he created, which he probably doesn't remember. And Pakistan clerical staff, without actually checking anything, has just sent the money already to that English bank account, which Faulkner probably does. He doesn't have the debit card for it also anymore. So I think that somebody has to go and actually find that money now.
I think I know what happened. I'll tell you exactly what happened. Remember when we were kids and we used to wake up and look at the scores in Australia? The wickets are before the runs. So I think Faulkner has done something there. He's basically put some digit before the thing. That's basically what's happened.
No, guys, it's not that at all. Have you seen Faulkner? Faulkner, if you see, is like this tall guy with like a mustache. He looks exactly like that Captain Russell guy from Lagan. Okay, he literally wanted Dugna Lagan. That is what happened.
Guna Lagan, that's it.
He wanted Dugna Lagan. That's all. They're like, no. And he left.
But
I think what happened was that the money went to like some desi guy who lives in London. And that guy was like, Modi ji ke 15 lakh aa gaye.
He said, Modi ji ka 1500 aa gaya, some shit he said. Then he came in the double scales episode. Double scales is his voice basically, right?
Oh yeah, double scales.
Yeah, full bass he gives.
He created Pankaj the Praying Mantis, taught mystery bowling to Ajanta Mentis, and features in fantasies of all flavors. Hello Ra, Abhishek Madan.
Rapping, shopping, Choppy karda. Ladies drop their panties.
Hi Tony, hi everyone.
The label says, scales are designed as double scales and can be interpreted as super scales, representing the fearless Lucknow super giants on the field. Guys, what are double scales and what is a super scale? How do you interpret a scale as a double scale and also designed as a double scale, interpreted as a super scale? This should have been the tagline of the team here. I mean, it's
Dude, copywriter didn't expect anyone to read this out loud and all. Now we were like full on.
I think this is literally like the lorem ipsum of t-shirt design. They just put something on and we are the only ones reading the damn fine print.
Was the design a vector or a scalar? Okay, sorry.
I think like it's meant to be read as the scales are meant to be double scales. Like there is one Dota aspect to it. Like if you kill enough people and you get monster kill like that, you get double scales or super scales.
They had Dhoni on a bike as an animation, right? Which they obviously couldn't change. They're like, screw it, we can't be bothered to change this right now.
How pissed that creative director must be right now. He's gotten like a massive workload of reworks.
Yeah, and the funny part is Dhoni's body has actually changed, right? Since he's left cricket, he's buffed up like anything, and the creative guy had to pay attention to the biceps and everything, which he crafted perfectly only for this guy to.
If only Dhoni was wearing the LSG jersey, that would enhance the male body contours.
All right, so your nominee is Madan. Anyone else for any other nominations?
I'll go with Beastie Boys purely for his
don't
purely his Rohit Sharma impression and saying "Kya Bharat bahut bade log ho gaye hai," all of that. It's just hilarious. It's just hilarious, man. That entire segment.
It was like a routine. It had to be done. Like if Ravi Shastri, Rohit Sharma and Bharat Sundaresan walk into a bar together, which has happened, not together, but like they ended up in the same bar together. Yeah. It used to be the same routine. Ravi Shastri would start. He would be like, "So Rohit, fantastic innings, but this was bigger than 100." And I like both Rohit and at this point would know what's coming. So, and then he would turn at me. "So tell us what was special about this innings." And then like. And I would see Rohit, they would start doing that, like, yeah. And then I would have to do the whole, I mean, look, yeah. I mean, it's not really about talent. Everybody speaks about talent. It's about more now. I mean, yeah, everybody has talent. Like, yeah, so I would do that. And then some days Rohit would be happy. It depends on what mood Rohit would be in. Because some days sometimes the next morning, I remember once in New Zealand, he came, you didn't do it very well, huh? मैं ऐसा कुछ नहीं करता हूँ, मैं इतना नहीं करता हूँ. ये क्या, मैं तेरा duplicate थोड़ी हूँ यार, मैं थोड़ा. That's what I always tell him, like, yeah, like I can't. What's the point of me talking like you? I have to like caricature you, boss. Like, yeah, all my friends are. Like, yeah. So he actually, I met Rohit now. Like, it was. Met him a few times during this World Cup. Like, he's a lovely guy. Yeah? Like, I mean, he's such a. Speaking of Mitchell Johnson, genuine and all, Rohit Sharma is also one of those really genuine people. Like, yeah. So he. I bumped into a lot of these guys after the India-Pakistan match at the airport after I missed my flight in the morning. So I was there and I was speaking to Rahul Dravid. Like, I hadn't caught up with him in a long time. So we were just talking about the match. And suddenly, तू इतना बड़ा आदमी हो गया. हाँ, इतना बड़ा आदमी हो गया. क्या हो गया? अरे मैं गया प्रेस कॉन्फ्रेंस के लिए. मैं देखा, अरे भरत किधर है? तू नहीं है. मैं सर यार radio commentator these days, right? Sorry, no time for your press conference. I said, yeah. And then I pulled him aside and I said, देख यार, अभी तू है तो मेरा क्या जरूरत है कि नहीं? वो भी है अभी. But the 2015 Sri Lanka tour was crazy, man. Like everyone used to come up to me. Like I remember Harbhajan Singh would come, एक बार करना वो, एक बार करना.
And then him doing Bakchodi and
which by the way happened on Nitin's show. And Nitin got called up for it.
So, remember to never use Bakchodi in a formal setting.
I know.
Yeah.
But do it liberally.
झक मार के बहुत कुछ. झक मार के is not abusive. No, I go on these shows and speak Hindi and like, yeah.
All good. No,
this Marke is absolutely fine.
If Choppy says it
झक
should be
मारना is
fine.
like,
By saying that you raised the bar on this.
Exactly.
Oh, really? Oh, no. I'll tell you why. Because like some watch-along show I was doing earlier this year, IPL mein, and it was funny. It involved, I think I can use that word on this show. This is like a friendly haha show, right? Like so it's some watch-along show with sponsors and all that. So it is Hindi. Like mera Hindi, I've become a little odd. Like मैं Hindi में बात करूँगा, you know. So it was about Arshdeep Singh. So the characters involved in this story make it even like not funnier, but like worse in a way. So someone asked me, Arshdeep Singh को आपने कभी देखा होगा भरत? I said, हाँ मुझे याद है. 2018 में अंडर-19 चैलेंजर्स चल रहा था बॉम्बे में. तो राहुल द्रविड़ कोच थे. तो अर्शदीप सिंह को कोई नहीं जानता था, वो खुद नहीं जानते थे. और हम लोग दो जर्नलिस्ट बैठे थे प्रेस बॉक्स में. शायद राहुल द्रविड़ बोर हो रहे थे, उनको थोड़ा बकचोदी करना था. तो वो आगे बॉक्स में आके हमसे बकचोदी करके वो गए. And this is Rahul Dravid as well, right? Like so, and then I can see like from the corner of my eye, my panelists are like, you know, they're like kind of shifting in their chair. Fucked up, but like I'm going to continue with this bакчоди. Like and then I finish my rant, my great story, and then the host says, by the way, हम माफी मांगना चाहते हैं, भरत का वहाँ slip of tongue हो गया. Shit, क्या बोल दिया यार मैंने? And I really did not realize what I did. And then I had to ask the producer later, like, what did I say wrong? Like, and then she explained to me, like, yeah.
Bharat's episode, my favorite part was at the end of the recording, we were saying our goodbyes to him. And I very sheepishly asked him, oh, Bharat, what part of this you don't want on the actual pod? Because, you know, some of this stuff is off the charts. And he said, hey, sab dalo.
Recency bias aside, right? I mean, all our guests have been tremendous, but Sidin's first ep, man, that was too good. Where
amazing.
Famously
Recall
Jitendra by
of all
Jitendra.
And
also
the very
stories about Sugumara Kurup and all, man. Like things
that was
expect
good.
to hear.
What
Total
episode is this?
5, 7.
again 5 or 6 or
again,
7 or
yeah.
something.
Sharjah
Single
something.
digits.
Single
I
digits.
think the episode name is Sharjah.
A class
would
in
be-
golf.
Class
Yeah,
in golf.
class in
Correct.
golf.
That's what I said, Sharjah. Yeah.
Nice.
Class in golf.
Last thing about growing up with cricket in the UAE is about this wonderful chant that happens in Sharjah cricket grounds that Sidin has written about. And I'm going to throw it to Sidin to talk about this.
I'm really happy to be on the last episode of this podcast. So this is my dad is responsible for this. However, there's a great when you're a journalist and you write stuff, you want to get paid for it. Ideally, you want to get that's number one goal. Number two goal is people remember this. It has some influence somewhere. And 99% of journalists, 99% of what they write, nobody cares for, and the remaining 1% people care for because there are factual mistakes or there is plagiarism. So the vast majority of the time, you get no reward for what you're writing. So anyway, so the story starts with this is my dad in his late 80s phase when he still does not understand what the heck Kapadia and Premraj is talking about during cricket matches, right? So they would come home and you could hear audio, you could hear everything happening in the stadium on the TV in those days. Like you could hear people speaking, all of this very, very low tech. And you could hear the Desis. This is before, we got many more sophisticated chants. This was all very Jeetega by Jeetega, either Pakistan Jeetega or India Jeetega, right? I mean, it was always, basically only had those 2 or 3 chants. And my dad would get really annoyed because Kapadia and Premraj would sit in my living room and scream out these. And my dad is like, dude, there's only like 3 adults and a child here. They can't hear you in the fucking TV. Why are you screaming? Stop it. Okay, and my dad would get really annoyed. And at which point, one day he was like, this is after India had lost to Pakistan. Okay, I remember this. My dad is very good when he gets outraged. He was like, what happened now? You're bloody Jitendra by Jitendra. What happened now? All gone. All finished. All gone. All waste of my time. My electricity money waste. My cooking waste. My food waste. Go home. Bloody fools. Okay?
Jitendra indeed.
Okay, so, and the thing is, not entirely senseless because this is one of the period when Jitendra would actually be in the stadium with assorted members of Pakistani intelligence, I guess, watching these matches. So every time, for years after that, everyone would keep screaming Jitendra by Jitendra for this. I wrote about this once, and I kid you not, around 7 or 8 years ago, at I think an India-England one ODI in Lords or Oval in London, a bunch of guys sang that song. Okay, clearly engineering Cricinfo column reading guys, and I heard it on TV, and it is by far the most success I've achieved in any form. As cricketers say, my most successful moment in any format.
Across formats.
Across formats, yeah.
And the only other time this has happened to me is I wrote an article about trying to follow the India-Pakistan match, and I had to follow this match in Switzerland because I was traveling on work. And a bunch of us Indians managed to use.
That's a beautiful article, by the way. I really like that article. But
I remember this. I was staying. I'd gone for a trade show this was when I used to cover the Swiss watch industry as a journalist. But I traveled to Switzerland. I was staying in this godforsaken village somewhere in a spa because I didn't get hotel rooms. It was too expensive. I was on expense. And then a bunch of us Indians sat and saw a pirated stream of this game in a McDonald's in Basel. People lost their mind. They're like, what the heck? Why are these mysterious brown people watching a stream and vaguely chanting religious lines? You know what I mean? It was all the Swiss were losing their minds about it. And then I wrote an article immediately. I filed an article for Cricinfo when I was there. And then I came to London. I came back home 2 days later. And I was traveling through customs. And a Desi guy was checking my passport. And he was like, oh, I went to Switzerland. Did you see the cricket? I said, yeah, I saw the cricket. He was like, this guy wrote this really interesting article on Cricinfo about watching this in Switzerland. Did you meet this guy? And I was like, what? Somebody reads my cricket besides the guy who edits it.
So yeah, it was. At that point, did you own up to it, or did you slyly slide away?
Yeah, come on. Validation as an Indian journalist, 100% own up to it. I own up to articles that Samant Subramaniam has written. What articles I have written? So I have zero problems with. So those are two. But Jitendra by Jitendra, it is again happy to have contributed it to the sophisticated world of Indian cricket. Thanks, Dad.
For our off-take for our upcoming true crime podcast, can you briefly tell us about your interaction with Sugumara Kurup and how he was your neighbor or something?
Okay. So remember, my dad went in 1972. So the UAE became a country in 1970. And when my dad went in 72, there were still border checks between Dubai, Abu Dhabi, and so on. It wasn't the seamless country it is today. Dubai had, even to this day, right, there's lots of different. It was a very different country, my friends. Abu Dhabi airport was one building with a jeep outside. Dubai had the major airport. The guy who ran the fire force in Abu Dhabi was a Malayali who was called, I joke not, Fire John. His name was Fire John because he was a Malayali called John. He was in charge of fire. They called him Fire John. Okay. And my dad knew Fire John. I mean, the community was so small that virtually every Malayali, every kind of broadly, if you are from the Thrissur central area, everybody knew everybody else. So everybody kind of literally knew everybody else in the Gulf in the 70s. Even though there were thousands of Malayalis there, it was not uncommon for all of them to know each other fairly, and they're all bachelors. None of them had their families. 10 of them would share a flat, right? Or work in a labor camp, which sounds horrible, but they lived in dormitories together. My dad got married, I think, in 76, and he was lucky enough to have a job which paid him enough that he could bring my mum over. So my mum went just before I was born, and then she came back for my delivery. So when my mum was, I think, the late 70s, so I'm thinking 77, 78, when I was but a twinkle in my dad's voracious eye, one of our family friends was a guy called Sukumara Kurupa. Okay, we knew him. My dad knew him as this very charismatic guy who'd come in once every couple of weeks. They would play rummy together. They'd have a few drinks, and my dad again was lucky enough to be paid well enough. Let me just acknowledge here, not merit, pure luck. To have money, you have to get a liquor license, right? So my dad could go to Spinneys or to one of the licensed liquor shops in Abu Dhabi and buy liquor. Not everyone couldn't go. You had a license, and so my dad could buy alcohol, because if you traveled in a taxi with alcohol, they caught you and you didn't have a liquor license, you're gone. They could put you in prison for a very long time. So all the bachelors would come, and Sukumara Kurpu was one of these guys. Sukumaran. They used to call him Sukumaran, I think. Handsome, charismatic, worked for a local company. Sukumaran's sister was also in Abu Dhabi at the time. She used to be a cashier at Spinneys, which was one of these pork selling, alcohol selling, special license British shops in Abu Dhabi. So, and my dad used to tell me, Sukumara Kuruk came once a week. He said, no, I'm going back to India on holiday. They played cards. I think my mum made mutton biryani. My dad has very clear memories of this. And then Sukumara Kuruk goes to India on leave, right? Back in the day when flights were so expensive that you went on leave maybe once every 2 years. Very expensive to go. And Sukumara Kurpu goes, and my mum is carrying me. So I am in Delhi at this point. I am in the process of presenting myself. And the next thing I know, or next thing my dad knows, Sukumara Kurpu is a wanted man because he has murdered somebody in Kerala. He has killed somebody, burnt their body in a car. The idea is to do an insurance fraud. So the idea is Sukumara Kurpu has died in a car accident, so his family will get the money. What Kurup actually does is he drives around one evening with some accomplices, finds a guy, kills him, puts him in the car, sets fire to the car, and the idea is hopefully police will think it is Sukumara Kurup and his family can take the money. Utterly flabbergasted. Like the entire Abu Dhabi gang is utterly flabbergasted by the sequence of events, and eventually Kurupu becomes one of India's most wanted people. Is believed to have run away to Saudi Arabia at some point. Very quickly after that, I think when in the late 80s or mid 80s, there was a movie called NH47, which was a film adaptation, the first film adaptation of the Sukumara Kurupa crimes. And I remember bizarrely sitting at home and watching it with my dad. And my dad is like, I used to know that guy. He came and saw your mum when you were in stomach. The most bizarre story. There's a new movie now, I think, which has come out with Dulquer Salman, Mammootty's son. And I don't think to this day they found him ever. The theory is that he died of old age in Saudi Arabia, but he remains maybe Kerala's most famous fugitive, is Sukumara Kurupu. So yeah, so was a family friend. Like almost everybody in the Gulf at that point.
It was such a 0 to 100 story. Like, okay, like seems like a decent person. Whatever. Went to tried what murdered someone for like insurance. Like it. I did not expect that escalation. I expected an escalation, sure, but all the stat padding of like what like a normal person this is, or like no has come over, eaten like.
Yeah, he was just playing cards with my dad.
Only for Malayalis, this is like a story of from rummy to dummy. Like
that one also.
Yeah. So I'm sure Sidin will come back, but also taking the opportunity to thank Chops yet again, and also putting pressure to say we've also lined up Melinda Farrell and Sidvi. So if they're listening, they have to come. And I think Bharat Sundaresh will be coming back again next year.
Good point to get people on the pod.
So the thing is, we have to give the awards now. So we've had Sidin, we've had Bharat Sundaresh, Sami, and Abhishek Madan as well, and a few others. So, but my award will go to Kaus's Idli guy, who's also a guest on the show.
Yeah, super.
But while I have the mic, challenging my inner Kamran Akmal, the best Tony goes to intro. Two resolutions from me. I will edit some episodes this coming year.
16 episodes you should edit next year.
Second, yeah, exactly. Second one is I will watch the IPL, at least one or two.
Woo!
Yeah.
Finally,
Again it is.
IPL, we
No,
are
we
coming
should
for
ask-
you. You thought we jinx only international cricket team. We will jinx you also IPL. Mohan is going to watch IPL.
Gone.
This is how we make cricket better.
Finished.
By jinxing the IPL.
Harsha asked about Lords, whose loss it is when Sachin hadn't. I mean, it was discovered that Sachin hadn't scored 100 here, there. So in this case, whose gain it is if Mohan is going to watch IPL.
Beautiful reference of the year.
And here's a prediction: Arjun Tendulkar is going to have a fantastic IPL.
If he plays,
he will play.
Let's see
Hey,
if you
what
hit the
he
fishes.
started Ranji. He started Ranji superbly.
This is the Avasarapattu Bogi Kondaringle moment of the year. He's not. Arjun's not even in any of the squads, but Mohan is celebrating Bogi on behalf of it. That's the...
Oh, he's
you
not in
just-
an
you
IPL
just did-
squad, Raman. What is this?
You just
He's
did a
part
Harsha
of Mumbai
Bhogale
Indians.
Pongal, yeah.
Archer, Bumrah, Behrendorf, Richardson, Arjun Tendulkar. Nice.
He can play as a batsman.
Yeah, he's a middle order bat. Good. On that note, thank you for your company throughout how many ever episodes you've listened. That's episode 52 of Bits and Pieces. And this is Srinath signing off along with the gang. Say bye, guys.
Bye.
Give us a
Wish you
five-star
a happy
rating.
new
See
year.
you. Happy New Year. We should have ended the pod long ago, guys. This is all extra stuff.
Where are you staying? Mahbub Studio. मेरे महबूब कयामत होगी आज रिसवा मेरी गलियों में मोहब्बत होगी. Don't know this song. तो गिलामत होगी. So we switch to जरा तस्वीर से तू निकल के सामने आ मेरे महबूबा मेरी महबूबा मेरी महबूबा मेरी महबूबा मेरी महबूबा मेरी महबूबा. Peak SRK has never been defeated, no? Yeah. There is no one such as Peak SRK. Naveem Shravan undefeated. Yeah. Whose? No? Whose name? Nadeem Shravan. Ah, yeah. Oh, bloody. Oh, bloody. Oh, bloody. Oh, bloody. Life was on. We love you. Life was on.